Welcome to the Digital Analysis of Chant Transmission workshop series. And as you will have just heard, this meeting is being recorded. So I'm just going to share my screen. There we go. Can everyone see that? I'll go into the play mode. Is that visible? All good? Okay. So just before we get started, I want everyone to admire our new logo. We're very excited about that. Okay. I am Jennifer Bain. I'm a professor at Dalhousie University in Halifax, Nova Scotia in Canada, and I'm the principal investigator of the DACT project. Today's workshop features computer software created by students of Jan Hayek from the Charles University in Prague. And Jan is the lead co-investigator for DACT's Chant analytics team. At Dalhousie University, operates in the unceded territories of the Mi'kmaq, the Wolastoqey, and Pasquotamukari peoples. These sovereign nations hold inherent rights as the original peoples of these lands, and we each carry collective obligations under the peace and friendship treaties. Section 35 of the Constitution Act 1982 recognizes and affirms Aboriginal and treaty rights in Canada. At Dalhousie, we also recognize that African Nova Scotians are a distinct people whose histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched that part of Mi'kmaq known as Nova Scotia for over 400 years. Part of our efforts in the DACT network include supporting the work of Indigenous researchers as they engage with their communities to better understand the singing of chant throughout parts of our shared history. For those of you who are not familiar with this project, but I think everyone is, the Digital Analysis of Chant Transmission, known as DACT, is a collaborative project that aims to extend the study of the dissemination of plain chant from localized research focused mostly on Europe in the Middle Ages to global research tracing transmission to other continents through to the modern era. And of course, we're also very interested in digital applications to the study of chant, and today's workshop is what that is all about. So very excited about this today. DACT is funded by a partnership grant from the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada with support from Dalhousie University, the University of Waterloo, where the Cantus database was developed for many years and where the Cantus Index is now maintained, and the Digital Research Alliance of Canada that hosts the Cantus database. For all of the DACT partner organizations, for those representatives who are with us today, you will be receiving an annual contribution report that needs to be signed by a university or institutional administrator and returned to us a few weeks later. So watch your inboxes for that. And on Friday, March the 28th, we're going to have a workshop on RISM integration hosted by Ichiro Fujinaga with presentations by Dylan Hillerbrand and Andrew Hankinson. And we're working towards another workshop that it will be about creating catalog records in the Cantus Index. So we'll let you know once we've finalize the details surrounding that. So I think at this point, I will stop sharing my screen and turn things over to Jan Hayek, who will introduce his two students and will host the remaining part of the workshop until the very end. So over to you, Jan.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you everyone for being here. It's quite exciting to be able to present our work in front of this particular crowd. I can think of no more qualified set of faces to be talking to. Let me say a few words about what we've been doing and the context of the Chant analytics team within which Anna and Wojciech are working. This will be short, and then there will be two longer slots where our students present their work. So The Chant Analytics team is, aside from me, Kate Helson, Tim Eipert, Gustavo Ballen as the official members of the team. I think we're still officially tracking Mark Daly as well as team member, and we are in loose collaboration, but loose but intense, with Fabian Moss and Bas Cornelissen as well. And the students of the DACT team are those who are actually doing most of the work. And this is Anna Dvořáková, Wojciech Lanz, and we have a new person coming onto the students team who actually just sought me out because he was interested in working with Chant. This is seriously cool that somebody just comes in from the outside. I didn't know that this guy existed at all, and out of the blue, we have somebody interested in Chant computing. But I didn't manage to get a portrait photo for him from yet in time. He will be there. So this is the makeup of the team. What we do, we do papers, right? The DLFM, Izmir. We go to workshops and we teach sometimes in collaboration with Fabian. We did a workshop on Bayesian modeling of Chant, among other things, in Würzburg. And there will be a workshop that we got invited to teach in Riga. This is news from last week. So there's knowledge mobilization activities, and most importantly, we make software tools. So aside from the Chant Mapper and Chant Lab software, which our students will present later today, there is some more stuff going on. There is the development of the PyCantus library, which we want to become a sort of include or import PyCantus for any Chant computing experiment, to implement the Cantus index data model in Python, to make it easy to manipulate our Chant data programmatically. This is part of sort of an outreach strategy towards the Izmir crowd to attract more people and to make it easier for more people to start working with the amazing databases and datasets that we have. This is led by Anna Dvořáková. She just started on this. There is a repository, and please, in order for us to do this well and to actually support your use cases and what you might want to do with Chant, you can take our survey. So far, this was circulated at some point in the summer. So far, we have 9 responses. So just from this place, we can get at least 5 more, because I think there's 14 people here. And so don't be shy about sharing your vision for what could be done with Chant programmatically. Other stuff that's going on, you might want to join. If you're interested, reach out. I'll be happy to collaborate. There are so many ideas and not enough person hours of work available to do them all. So I'm very happy to collaborate on any of this. There is stuff we're working on with applying bioinformatics tools and models to Chant data. So studying sort of the ecology of Chant. This is mostly in collaboration with Gustavo Ballan, who is a bioinformatician, so he knows the actual methods and tools. So if you're interested in that, again, reach out to us. The other part is ongoing research on chant modality and how it presents, in sets of thousands of melodies that, thanks to Cantus, we have. So this is the range of our activities. Like I said, not enough person hours on the team to do it all. So if you're interested, or if you have students who might be interested in this, I'm always happy to talk to and collaborate. That's it from me. Now over to our students. And I think first is Wojciech Lanz, right? With the ChantLab application. So Wojciech, over to you.
Okay, hello everyone. I hope that you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Super. So, hello, my name is Wojciech Lanz, and I would like to introduce you to Chant Lab and its goal of making the computational study of Gregorian melodies more accessible. So, what is Chant Lab? Chant Lab is an interactive web application designed to enable intuitive and efficient comparison of different Gregorian melodies. And the goal is to allow the comparison of larger number of melodies, which could help musicologists quickly identify key patterns so they can quickly decide which aspects are worth exploring in more detail. And the computational analysis in ChantLab are based on bioinformatics methods that are used to compare similarities or relationships or possible evolution of sequences. And in case you would like to try the app, the link is on the slide. So feel free to use it and play with it. All right, let's go over the main features of ChantLab. First, it allows you to align any number of melodies using multiple sequence alignment, which makes it easier to spot similarities and patterns. Once melodies are aligned, you can interactively explore the results, including conservation profiles that highlight stable melodic structures. For deeper analysis, there is a similarity visualization through distance matrices and dendrograms, helping you see how melodies relate to each other. You can also export the results of alignments in standard formats like FASTA, Newick, or Nexus for further analyzing with different tools. Yeah, the app itself comes preloaded with Cantus Corpus, but you can also upload your own data sets. And also, we are experimenting with phylogenetic tree inference to explore possible evolutionary relationships between melodies, but it's in the experimental mode for now. So as I mentioned before, ChantLab's functionality is based on bioinformatics tools. The first one is MAFT, Multiple Sequence Alignment Tool, or MSA. It was originally made for aligning gene sequences, but here we are using it to compare melodies or tones. So think of it as a way to create structured visualizations of similarities between chants, kind of like a synoptic tables for music. And there is a Mr. Bios wall piano, another tool borrowed from genetics, where it is used to study evolutionary relationships. The tool was already extended to the version that supports wall piano notation. So now we can study possibilities of chant melody evolution. And of course, we are not the first ones using bioinformatics tools for studying music. There are many already published works that inspire us. So how do we, or particularly how the MSA process aligns melodies? The idea is to shift tones where needed by adding gaps to make sure that similar or identical tones match up properly. On the slide, you can see an example with two sequences. The first melody has the tones F, G, B, and another F. And the second melody, the one below, has F, B, F, and C. So we compare every pair of tones from these two melodies and determine how hard it is to align them. It basically means how expensive it will be for the final cost if we force certain tones to align. The green lines in the image show cases where the cost is very low because the tones are exactly the same. We can see that there is only one gap we need to add to make the green lines being aligned. And that is what we aim for, adding as few gaps as possible so that the best matches line up. But there, yeah, there is a tricky case like F and G that they are close, but not really identical. So how do we decide if they should align? And that's where the substitution model comes in. It tells us which pairs are easy to align and which ones should be penalized more. Mr. Bias piano tool helps us figure out how melodies are related by building a phylogenetic tree, which is basically a family tree for melodies. It compares aspects of melodies and estimates their similarity and then find the most likely evolutionary connections between them, the ideal path. And these are those features ChantLab provides that are based on those bioinformatics tools. By using the MSA tool, the app aligns melodies to match similar are exactly the same tones or even larger patterns, the alignment is then visualized in several ways. And we also integrated the Mr. Bias Volpiano tool that takes the alignment and generates its phylogenetic tree or the family tree of for melodies. But as I said before, this is only an experimental feature for now. So ChantLab supports 3 different methods for melody alignment, starting with pitch-based alignment, which matches melodies based on pitch similarities. However, to make this work well, we need a solid substitution model, which is not known and available for Gregorian chant yet. For now, we use a simple model where the alignment cost increases with diatonic steps. So a second has a cost of 1, the third cost of 2, etc. And in the future, we will allow users to upload and experiment with their own custom substitution models with the parameterized pitch similarity costs. We also offer interval-based alignment, which focuses on the intervals between pitches rather than the exact notes. So it is unaffected by transposition. In the case of interval-based alignment, we use mapped default substitution metrics for now. And lastly, there's the word-based alignment, a simple method that just aligns melodies based on textual boundaries, but this approach is more like a baseline than anything else. The final alignment is then visualized, and you can colorize the same tones, or you can also colorize conservation profile. You can also compare it with the text, eventually with the text boundaries explicitly. The example on the slides specifically compares aligned versions of the Orietur Sicut Sol or whatever, I don't know how to spell it correctly, but of one specific antiphon from different sources. But also we can take the melody alignment that was done in the previous slide and turn it into something more visual and easier to interpret. First, we had distance metrics, which shows how similar or different the alignment melodies are to each other. It compares each pair of melodies and assigns a similarity score to them, normalized to being between 0 and 1. 1 signifies no similarity at all, and it is colorized by the red color. 0, on the other hand, signifies the 100% similarity, and it's colorized by green. Then we have the dendrogram, which is basically a tree-like diagram that shows how melodies are grouped based on their similarity. This guide tree is something that the MSA creates to help organize the melodies. It keeps track of which parts of the melodies are closely related, showing us which patterns are more consistent and which ones can vary. This helps the MSA to decide which parts of the melody should stay close together and which can shift a bit. But the tree itself groups similar melodies to the same branches, which is very useful for any statistical or musicological analysis as well. Okay, based on the alignment, we can also generate phylogenetic trees, which basically show the evolutionary relationships between different melodies, or their sources. Mr. Bias Volpiano can generate these trees, and then we can use EC3, the third-party tool, to visualize them. But also, the implementation of melody alignment was extended thanks to this feature, because now ChantLab lets you choose to concatenate melodies from the same source and align only melodies with the same cantus IDs. However, this is still considered experimental, mainly due to computational time limits and other technical restrictions. So basically, Mr. Bias works, but it is not possible to run it long enough to get any meaningful result at the moment. And that's why in the future we plan to implement user accounts and some kind of job dashboard systems enabling users submitting computationally more complicated jobs. And once the analysis was completed, users would be notified about the results via the email or something. And now let me show you how ChantLab looks and how it works. So this is the entry point of the ChantLab. So here's the chant list, and we can select several of chants you are interested in and align them. But also we can specify some filtration. because there are many of chants right now, 8,000 of them, as part of the Cantus corpus dataset, and we can choose another one if you would want to work with another data. And in order to make the selection less complex, you can filter out some unnecessary chants. So we can filter by genres, offices, or sources. So let me filter out, for example, US sources here. Okay, and let's apply filters and refresh. And what we can do now is, for example, keep or ignoring request sense and melodies during the alignment process. But also we can sort the list by Cantus ID frequency. So if I'll check this button, then all chants are filtered or sorted by Cantus ID's frequency. So at the beginning we have a lot of melodies with this specific Cantus ID. So let me just go somewhere to have less frequent Cantus IDs, for example here, and let me, for example, choose these melodies of the Cantus ID 001023. So now we have something like 9 melodies, and let's align them. So the alignment process is quite fast. So now we've got the alignment visualized tone by tone, melody by melody. And in order to visualize better the similarities, we can show colorized tones. So we can see, for example, here, these 3 melodies are very similar based on the colors. But also we can see that they are in the same mode, which actually makes sense. And also there's another pair, for example, these 2 melodies that are very similar, also in the same mode of 6. We can also colorize by conservation profile, so we can see which patterns are mostly the same or can vary a little bit. Okay, so we compare now 9 sequences, but we have to do it more or less manually once it is already aligned. So let me go back to the chant list and select a different filtration. So I will use all sources, but this time I will use only gradual verses. So what would happen if we want to analyze and align more melodies at the same time? So in this case, if we select all gradual verses, we've got 200 of melodies. So let's align them. It will take several seconds because there are a lot of data that need to be processed. But it is almost impossible to manually compare each pair of melodies right now. And therefore we offer another features that should help us to analyze such melodies. And now we've got the alignment done. So these 2 features are the distance metrics. So if I will open it, you can see the metrics of all those melodies, and there are cells describing each melody pair, and either there is a red color that signifies that those melodies are not very similar, and also there could be the green color that signifies that those melodies are very similar, and also there are some blocks signifying that these melodies overall are very similar together. And basically if we'll check those melodies names, you can see that those melodies are in the same mode, for example, in the mode 2. And also, and once we notice some interesting pair of melodies that is that dwarfs to exploit in more detail, we can just manually compare this specific pair exactly without ignoring the rest of melodies. And another interesting feature is the guide tree that is generated from the process of the alignment. And also here we have several branches, or many of branches, signifying similarity of those specific melodies. So if two melodies are in the same branch, they are very similar based on the alignment process, based on MAFT or the MSA. And as you can see, there is one big branch of all melodies in the one specific mode, which is very interesting in belonging to mode 5. And another branch is about melodies in belonging to mode 2, etc. Sometimes those modes are a little bit mixed up. Yeah, so there could be interesting things that could be analyzed based on these dendrograms or exactly this tree. And this is probably all from my side. So thank you for attention.
Thank you, Wojciech. So for questions, the plan from Deborah and Jennifer is to keep most of them for after both presentations. Also, when you see the software in comparison, maybe you have bigger ideas, bigger questions. But if there is some burning question, something that needs to be clarified, I think we now have a few minutes for one or two. So raise your Zoom hands, raise your Zoom cats, or somehow make me aware that you have something to ask right now about this presentation. If not, then we will go ahead and Anna Dvořáková will present her software, Chant Mapper. Also, I should say congratulations to our DACT students because both of these pieces of software got accepted recently to the Music Encoding Conference. So the Chant Analytics team will have a presence there in the form of two beautiful posters.
Thank you. So now you should see my slides, hopefully.
Yes.
Great. So hello again. My name is Anna Dvořáková, and as was previously mentioned, I will talk about Chant Mapper, which is a tool for Gregorian traditions visualization. It's so, as I just mentioned, for Gregorian repertoire, no melodies, just the repertoire structure. Chant Mapper is a way how to compute and visualize, and by visualize we mean on a map, because where can be an interesting point of view. So compute, visualize, tradition research, and by traditions we mean some subset of sources or pieces of sources containing some similar chants for same occasions, same piece usually. And so in the next few minutes, I will talk about the data that we had for the app or have, and as well as the research methods provided. And at the end, I will show the app itself. So there would be no research without data. And for our default dataset, we decided to go for antiphons and responsories from Cantus Index in the state of February 24. Why so old? Well, this was basically all that was accessible during the first stage of development, and also later on migration of Cantus Index and the other databases to Django began. And so our scrapers, which is the way that we are obtaining the data, kind of broke for a while, which is now solved. And then besides these chant information, we needed more information about the sources, such as century, provenance, possibly curses if known, And so this is what we got from these 8 databases that are in the table. And finally, to be able to plot what we found to a map, we need to enrich the provenances with latitude and longitude, which was done manually because there was no really standard way of naming the places. So also some kind of standardization take place in this part of the process. And then this data was loaded into the app database. And now it's time to talk about the research methods. So how are the traditions built? Well, our app offers 3 possible approaches. Each of them serves a different purpose slightly. Firstly, Leuven community detection algorithm that works on data networks. That was already used by Tim Apert and Fabian Mas on tropes. So it's kind of a novel, but not a big novelty. More experimental as work with topic models, but it shows the potential of Chant Mapper to serve as a interface for expert assessment of these methods. That's partly why it's present. And also for some familiar baseline, we included the Canvas analysis tool principle, how Canvas analysis tool basically compute the traditions, which besides being familiar baseline is also quite easy to comprehend how it works. And now I will talk a little bit more about how these methods can be applied on Gregorian repertoire. So, Leuven community detection. By community on a graphs or on data networks, we mean a subset of vertices, these points, that are somehow more connected to each other in the graph. And so to find these communities, we constructed the data network in a way that sources are these vertices, and the weight of the edge of the connection between the sources is computed as a checkered index on sets of the Canvas IDs in a pair of sources in between them. This here on the right corner, there's a visualization of how the checkered index intersection over union works. What is nice on Leuven community detection is that there's no need to specify the number of communities that we want to detect. It simply runs in an iterative cycles and ends in some state of convergence. And since this approach has some kind of a random seed in it, that it can return different results in different computation cycles. In the app, we compute the results 10 times, return one of them, and then told the user how sure the algorithm is about the results. So there's some kind of stability level computed. Clustering based on topic models, precisely on latent direct. So there's latent direct allocation model pre-computed on the built-in dataset. This means that this option works only with data that was present in Canvas index February 24. I'm not going to get into a technical description on how this works. But what's important is the outcome that now we are having sources coming from a mixture of latent traditions and not just one tradition. While this might seem attractive, it has so far revealed kind of a lackluster results. By this, I mean mainly that the answers are not stable, that it feels a bit random how it answers the research. And this might be caused by various reasons. And then the Canvas analysis tool, so it's based on a simple intersection of the pieces of repertoire. It's kind of strict in comparison to the previous soft methods. So it puts 2 sources in one tradition only if they do not differ on any liturgical position on a selected piece of repertoire. We implemented 2 modes, let's say, when one is more and one is less strict or tolerant to an office assignment. So we treat the whole piece of repertoire as a back of chance while comparing, or we care about what offices it's assigned to, which is more close to the original Cantus analysis tool. So that's the methods. For technically oriented view, here's some basic implementation overview on what was used. But the important message out of this is that the app is now deployed and is ready to be used. I'm really happy about. And that takes us to the final part of my presentation, which is hopefully a live demo. So I hope that now you should see the web page. This is the intro page, the home. Here's what welcomes you. The most important part of this is the map that shows all the provenances included. And here we can look what sources are known to the app. So if we get some results, we know what we cannot expect to see, basically what is unknown to the app. And now I will show you how the search works here in this request form. By steps, I selected the desired piece of repertoire I want to analyze. So I will go for my favorite Adalberti. And I will select it. I want to see all what we have for Adalberti, all antiphons and responsories for the whole day with the Levin algorithm, checker metrics on the built-in dataset. And now I will have a look at the results. So first possible view on the results is this table, kind of a synoptic one that gives us a column for each community found, for each tradition. Here is the overview of what sources belongs to this community. And here are always all the chants that for each office signed here and how common they are in the community. Second possible view is the map, where we see all the places on the map. The color is the same, signifies or shows the community assignment. So dark blue is dark blue here. The shape tells us about cursors if we have the data. Here's how it works. And besides the sources, we can also add the edges and then look how similar sources are. So here we see that these two sources have the completely same piece of repertoire, where it won't be true for some of the others. Other pairs, so here is quite unsimilar, but still in a community, and even the between communities edges have their information of how unsimilar they are. Finally, century map view, where by switching off and on the layers here, we can look how the sources are distributed in a century-based time way. With this quite a little feast, it is all pretty clear. But if I picked a bigger piece of repertoire, such as Purificacio, although I will go only for louds, not for the whole repertoire, it can get less clear, less well arranged. And so here is much bigger group. And also in the map, this is still quite clear if we switch off some of the communities. But if I add all the edges, it's simply a mess, because there's so many information in one moment. But I can switch the communities one by one, so it's clear. And now I can look why this Portuguese source is so connected to a completely different part of Europe, and we see that it has completely the same 3 chants. And now last part, almost last, is the methods. So we can go for topic models and see what it gives us. Only 2 communities, quite big ones, where on the map it seems like it's spread all over, everywhere. Technically, nothing really systematic for a first view. And for the campus, we'll go for the Sancta Alpha. Express campus analysis tool, and see that here we can look at exactly the same synoptic table as campus analysis tool give us. And that the difference between these 2 communities, the first and the second, is only in this piece. So now in the map, the intra-community edges are not really what we are interested in, because they would always have the value 1, because they are exactly the similar piece. But what can be interested are the shared edges, where we can compare how unsimilar they are. And finally, what we provide to a logged in users, if I log in quickly, here this new button will appear about my dataset, my own data. So I can, this can be used for completely new data, my own, if they have a campus ID, or for just a more precise, more detailed filtration that than the app provides. So I have some, it is uploaded in a pretty simple CSV files, how it should be formed as described in the help section. And if I add these antiphons, something will happen. Well, we see that there is a source that is unknown to the app, but it's not a tragedy, because we allowed users to enrich the database not only with their sources, with their chants, but also with their sources. So now it should work well. Great, we see my demo dataset here, but in the middle, not only that it ends the source, but we can also enrich the geography part of the database by saying where the Adamov, which is a place, is, by matching it to some existing place, or by adding completely new coordinates. I wouldn't do there now, but now I don't remember them. But what I wanted to show is that now, if I go to the search form and pick a piece that is in my data, I can compute with them with that demo dataset. Here is what is inside. So that's it from me now.
Thank you. Wow, both demos worked. I think we have witnessed a minor miracle. So now the floor is everyone's. If you have questions, ask. If you have suggestions, tell us. If you have criticisms, tell us.
I think Barbara Huglo had a couple of comments, and she has to leave early, so why don't we jump to her?
Okay, can you hear me all right?
Yes, and maybe we could stop sharing the screen just so that we can all see each other during the conversation. Thank you.
Okay, great. I had 2 questions. For the first presentation, would it be possible to manipulate strings of neumes rather than strings of pitches? And for the second one, about the local traditions, I wanted to say that your results are surely going to be a bit skewed for the 13th to the 15th century, because many, especially antiphoners, reflect local foundations, and the profiles of foundations for feast can vary from one church, one altar, one everything to the next, and that is going to mess up any idea of what a diocesan rite might have been. So I would say keep for those kinds of searches, it might be best to leave out the saints' offices. Okay, that's all.
Thanks. So Anna, want to take the second one? Because for that I have also some.
So I'm not sure if I hear correctly. So it would be best to leave out the saint offices, so that we should.
If you're looking for traditions that are not simply those of a single church, if you're studying a single church, that is not going to be a problem. But if you're trying to locate diocesan practices or other broader traditions, the period from about especially 1250 up to about 1500 or up to the Council of Trent is probably going to be exceptional, because the sanctorales, at least in my experience, were influenced by gifts to the church by local people to introduce feasts or canons. And that means that it's more a matter of money and individual wishes than a bishop imposing and regulating the church calendar. So for that period, any inconsistencies or any changes are going to be very normal, especially in the sanctorale. So if you want to identify diocesan uses, look before 1250 or after the Council of Trent.
Yeah, so this is supported. This is supported by the feast selection, right? So if you know you want to avoid the sanctorale,
Yeah.
just use the feast set. But what I want to ask you is if you could help us identify for the Pi Cantus library, especially, a set of feasts which should not be affected by this so much, which can serve as a basis for comparing regardless of century.
I think probably the way to figure that out would be to look at an early calendar. If one of your books has a calendar from around 1200, those feasts are stable, and that would be fine. But and that would allow you to choose the feasts that would fit with the real tradition, the old tradition. I'm just saying to be aware of chronology, that your results are going to change for the different periods. Similarly, after the Council of Trent, it would be really interesting to observe changes for that period as compared with the earlier period.
Okay, so it might make sense to add some filtration based on the century, technically.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but Barbara, it also it could help you identify maybe some if you were interested in the activities of donors, and
absolutely.
then it could help you find some of those anomalies, right?
Absolutely. But I'm saying that that type of anomaly only happens in certain centuries,
right?
Not throughout the period.
Yeah, thank you.
And the first question was about working with ChantLab on sequences of neumes instead of sequences of...
Yeah.
Okay, Wojciech?
Yeah, I think that I can answer that. For now, it's not directly supported. There are several ways how to do that you can create your own data set, upload it, and the word piano, instead of encoding tones, would encode those neumes, and then the alignment would work the specific way you are asking for. But yeah, I think that this feature, like to do this encoding inside the app, is not implemented right now. There could be maybe issue of that those melodies should have the same neumes to work properly, and if it would not be directly mapped to each other. Oh, that's the thing that could be, yeah. this is something that could be combined with the ability to add your own substitution metrics to compare similarities of the same or similar names if you want to align them.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is definitely something for future than what is right now implemented. And right now you can do it just only encoding your own dataset of tones to dataset of names, basically.
Yeah. And I'm sort of wondering if, because Ichiro has whether there is a way to transfer kind of images of manuscripts into sequences of neumes rather than pitches with the technology that was developed by Ichiro.
I think
But I don't know enough to ask the question, right?
I think Deborah has her hand up, so
Go
I
ahead.
think she wants to respond to
I was
this.
just going to say that the development of the Volpiano as a data set took many, many hours.
Yeah.
And that was manually inputted because the technology wasn't quite there yet to just scan. And so if there were a way to get a data set of just the Noom shapes that could be given an ID and then that sequence of Nooms for as many records, like hundreds of thousands of records would be great. Tens of thousands would be fine.
Yeah. So
that-
Emma Hornby has such a data set, right?
She has the
I mean,
neutral
so
level
she,
high.
but she has it's all encoded by the specific neumes. So I think if you if you wanted to try that out, work with Emma Hornby because she has spent years putting together that data set. So that would be a good thing to do. And of course, with the OMR work that is being done by Ichiro and some others, we could maybe pull that out.
We
But,
didn't have to do
yeah.
it all by hand. That would be fantastic.
Yes.
But on the side of ChantLab, the systematic solution is for us to talk to Emma, figure out what standard she is using, and implement that. That's the most systematic solution. The solution number 2 is you define this yourself as soon as we provide the ability to upload your own substitution model. Then you can define your own alphabet and make the multiple sequence alignment tool that's in the backend work with that. Fortunately, Muft, the aligner, is really agnostic to the alphabet. It, like, out of the box, it supports the biological ones, but if you provide the substitution matrix, it works with anything. What it doesn't give you is the phylogenetic trees. That software is much harder to work with and much harder to adapt. So we have it now adapted for the Volpiano encoding, but it involved getting deep inside complicated C++ code. So this is not something that we can easily adapt. So for the alignments, yes, this would be doable. This is a great idea. And I'm already talking to Emma about some stuff related to her melody comparison tool. So we will bring that up.
Okay. Thank you very much. What you're all doing is just remarkable.
Thanks. Okay, Jennifer's hand is raised.
Yes. So I had a couple of questions, not big one. Well, the first thing is that I love the mapping tool. That is really, really quite amazing and wonderful to have that visualization. But thinking about provenance and the work that you had to do to try to standardize, I think that is one of the things to take to the directors of the Cantus Index Network that's in terms of metadata, that's one of the things I think we should be working towards in terms of standardizing provenance and how to implement that. So I think that's a good push maybe for us to do that, thinking about the manual work you had to do in order to make that happen. The question, well, I had a question about the Wojtek, your presentation when you were showing the alleluias and the melodies. And again, I love the visualization, the colors, like it's really great to be able to see those things immediately without having to kind of go along and compare the melodies. In terms of the display, is it possible to sort that display by things that are more closely related. So, because
Yeah.
it was sort of like 2 here, and then there were other things, and then another one that was very similar below.
Yeah, for now it's not possible to sort it. Again, it's something that we want to do in the future to be able to drag one melody and move it to another part of the visualization. There is, I think that there is a feature of filtering out some melodies that are not really yeah, there is a feature to reduce contrafacts as a thing that maybe you can reduce some things that you don't want to see, and also there is a feature to hide some of melodies that you don't want to see. So just it will keep their melodies only those important for you at that specific moment. But for now, it's not impossible to sort it somehow. But yeah, it's something that we are thinking about. That it's yeah, for the future.
Yeah, and as long as the contrafact thing is something you can turn on and off, so don't hide them completely for because some people might be really interested in contrafacts. So it's always just trying to think about how much data can you show and make available to people to sort in the different ways depending on what their research question is. But that's great work.
Honestly, I'm not sure why the melodies were shown in this weird order, because internally the alignment tool should be sorting them in a way that displays it in groups of similar melodies. We have to look into why that happened.
I removed this feature actually because there were some bugs that were complicated by the different order made by the math, and I wasn't aware of that. So if that was the feature to make it sorted at the first place, then I can return it back.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Thanks to Henry for corrections. So if you find mistakes, especially in the Chant mapper, we are aware that there are mistakes, and there are also especially mistakes in how courses is assigned. And there is a submit corrections button there somewhere, which currently just emails Anna. But there is a mechanism for making sure that the data becomes better and better.
And if there are some corrections that you're receiving that have to do with where the original data is located, please pass those on so that it can be corrected also in the Cantus database.
Deborah.
I was just going to add about curses. We had a discussion just among some of us about maybe a year or two ago, wondering if the curses click box in our source descriptions was used by anybody, or if anyone needed that. So clearly we should keep that. And then we should actually be more aware when it's maybe not checked that we should include that. We had thought like anyone using the source records would be able to just see what it is without needing that box, but I guess that's a good one to have.
Is certainly at scale, right? When you're looking at these communities on the map, I think Anna didn't have time to mention this, but I think for the Purificatio, there was a Cistercian community, right?
Yeah, I think so, but it was even like squares, which should be monastic, so it really stands out quite nicely.
Yeah, so that then stands out quite nicely when you get a community which is like all squares, or you get a community with no squares, which is also kind of suspicious, right? That the no monastic source is in that one. Yes.
I'll just go again that another click box or selection we've been tossing around is we haven't got anything for orders. And that's just a name that's in the giant text box description, but we don't have any like click for Dominican, click for Franciscan, or like wouldn't it be great if maybe we need something that would identify Cistercian as a controlled vocabulary kind of type pull down or whatever, so that could then be used in these applications. So maybe we should put that in.
Yes, and actually this is something we should talk about in connection to PyCantus development, because there we are downloading and rebuilding this data set, and this is one of the things that we can maybe try and do automatically just by keyword spotting in the source descriptions.
Hmm. That
Then
would
you
be
have to
great.
check it, of course, because there can be multiple orders mentioned in one source description and stuff like that. So it will have to go through some manual control, but it would make sense for us to kick this off with the automated step.
Yeah. Do we have other questions for Jan or for our speakers?
Feature requests.
Do we have feature requests? You also, in the chat, Jan put a link for a survey also about requests for different kinds of tools.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I
Well,
think you might have more questions and comments once you start trying to use these tools. If you're interested in using them, but you feel like you need more of a tutorial or something, uh, you're very welcome to reach out. We'll arrange something for you. Then we'll record it and use it as educational materials so that the next person will already have a tutorial available without arranging a meeting. But we are definitely excited to see where these tools go. Like, who uses them? Are they used in research? Are they used in teaching? Maybe what other possible uses that we haven't really imagined even you or your PhD students might, or whoever might find for them. So if you do use these, keep us posted. If it crashes, keep us posted, please. And we'll be looking forward to any and all feedback that might come out of that.
great. Thank you so much, Jan and Anna and Wojciech. Wonderful presentation. So thank you so much. And I'm sure some people will also be interacting with you at your poster sessions at the upcoming Music and Coding Conference. I have a few just short items of news to share, DACT news, so I'll maybe jump into that and share my screen. Here we go. So can everyone see that? We have so our big news, if you haven't seen it yet, is that we now have a DACT app. When you can use this QR code to get the app. Please take a look. It's got the sound walks in it that we've been doing. But we also have some sections with links to online resources and tools. And Jan, we could be adding links to these tools as well. It has our old DACT logo, but that will be updated. So if you want to capture that, we can also circulate that later if you haven't got it now and you want it. So we are doing a couple of more sound walks. So we launched one in our April meeting last year. We had an in-person meeting in Halifax. And then we did another one in Montreal to go along with an exhibition of chant fragments and manuscripts at McGill, the McGill collection. We're doing another one at the International Congress on Medieval Studies in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And the conference organizers are really excited about our sound walk, and it's going to be featured in a number of ways. We're doing a launch on the Thursday at lunchtime. So if anyone is there, please come by. And then also the Canadian Society of Medievalists are meeting in Waterloo in June, and there'll be another sound walk there. So, but those will be loaded on the app. So even if you can't be in those places, you can still have a look at the walk and the fragments, and we have recordings. All of the fragments are being sung by different groups from around the world. So it's quite a fun and interesting way to present the kinds of research that we're doing. If you want to see me or Deborah, we're going to be at Kalamazoo in May and at MedRen in Durham and Newcastle upon Tyne at the beginning of July. So we hope maybe we'll see some of you in those places. Even more DACT news. So the Cantus database, in terms of the infrastructure development, we have been doing something called segments, where we're providing different data sets within the Cantus database and project-based data sets as a separate element. When you do a search in Cantus, you can search everything, so including all of the segments, but it's a way of kind of giving a bit of an identity to a particular project. So one of the things we've been excited about is a Canadian Chant database to feature sources that are in Canada. So if you go in the Cantus database, this is now just live very recently in the last week, and you can see Calvin Bauer's sequence database there, which has been up for a while, and we'll have some work done on it to kind of bring it more in alignment with the Cantus database sources. But the Canadian Chant database is now there. We have a landing page, and I just wanted to show this as a way so people could see. If you click on there, it has its own look to it. So anybody who has a project with a data set that they want to bring in can do this and have their own landing page. You can acknowledge your funders. You can see that at the top there. It's sort of a scroll down, and then there's a search section where you can search just the items that are in that particular segment, if that's what you would like to do. There is going to be, there are already a couple of other segments that are planned and are in the works. So Li Jinghong, who's on the call today, has been working on a Chinese Catholic plain chant segment and has been creating inventories of sources, and they will soon be up here with the chants. The texts are in Chinese, but they'll be connected to their Latin counterparts through a Cantus ID with a language suffix. So that's a really exciting development. And also Ginny Blanton is on the call, and she has been working with her team on the Cantor Allies in the Americas and Beyond DACT team, and that will also be a segment in the Cantus database. So I think those are my updates. There's our website if you don't know that already. I'll stop sharing there. So thank you, everybody. If there's anything else anybody wants to share now, otherwise we will end a little early and people will get some time back in their day. We've got some nice comments in the chat and lots of links there. Thank you Deborah.
Just show you one. I wanted to show a Cantus index record. I'll just share my screen for just this one. Do you see the Cantus index screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so then it has this language suffix for classical Chinese, and that is the full text of the chant that is actually this antiphon in the Latin, and then the Chinese is connected to it with the base ID, and then it has that language suffix after the colon. And so in this way, he'll be entering all of these Chinese texts and putting them in the Cantus database. So it'll be kind of fun to see. But I can't proofread them, so you'll have to find your own proofreader.
But it's pretty exciting to have these Chinese characters now actually available in Cantus Index. So thank you, Li Jing, for all of your work on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I will add that LZH stands for Classical Chinese. Yeah, so it's kind of an ancient expression of Chinese language.
Great, thank you. And some of your sources are in different,
Yes,
they're
there
not
are
all
also, yeah, in modern Chinese also.
so there'll be a different suffix for that.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Lovely to see you all. And we'll see you at our next workshop about the Cantus Rhythm integration that Ichiro is going to lead. And that's an exciting new development. So thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.